Well, hello there. Tonight on the Guy at the Movies podcast, Chris from FilmStocked joins us. Welcome back, Chris. We're about to have a lot of fun right on the other side of this wonderful video that everyone says they want to submit for, Emmy shorts or whatever you can. Just all the awards.
Everyone is part of the family at this point.
I didn't do my fan fiction idea that I had, so this movie was garbage.
What is this? You are a monster beyond all belief.
Put them all in the thing and then do the thing. You know what I mean?
How? You're lucky to have me back.
You're never gonna get 60 million people because you're not a Super Bowl. Shut up!
So chaotic.
Welcome to the Guy at the Movies podcast. I am Joe. He is Sean, and we are joined by Chris from the esteemed FilmStock. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great. I feel like this is a perfect day to be here because we're talking about a show that may or may not have ended involving a Jedi. That's all I'm going to say.
May or may not have ended. Yeah. And may or may not have set up a season 2 if they wanted to go that route. Who knows? May or may not. But very happy to have you here. Sean, you are in new digs up there.
My new background. It is an unpacked basement. This is going to be my new podcast studio because I moved.
You didn't tell me you were moving into the Brady's house.
Yeah, I know. The wood paneling does kind of give a little bit of something, doesn't it? Yeah, no, it's we'll eventually do something about that in like 8 to 9 years. But
I kind of love it. I think it brings a lot of character.
Oh, definitely.
Chris, it's been about a year since we had you on the podcast, give or take. What's new and exciting in your world?
You know, I've just been conquering the world of trying to make a bunch of different types of content on all different types of social media platforms. It's been fun. I graduated college since the last time I was here.
Hey,
thank you. Yeah, and we got a bunch of Disney Plus shows and all these different media to consume. I feel like my watch list keeps growing so much that's the most stressful thing. Sometimes I'll be laying in my bed at night and I'll be thinking about my watch list.
There's so much out there, and Disney Plus just doesn't stop. I mean, today I woke up and I was like, oh no, I have to watch Obi-Wan before work. And then, oh wait, Miss Marvel came out as well. What is happening? There's too much. 2 shows on one day really puts me over the edge, apparently. But
if only there were 6 other days in the week where they could release those shows. But
yes, listen, there's a lot coming out. It got Elvis this week. They didn't want to run into that.
The Miss Marvel Elvis crossover fans,
the Black Phone fans, Beavis and Butthead, animation gets confusing. We have quite a lot to discuss when it comes to the MCU tonight, and we'll get into that. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about the box office, because there's kind of the tale of 2 box offices happening here with recent films that have come out. And I want to talk about what is actually happening and what we think this means for the future. But before we do that, we always start with a trailer. And today we got the trailer for They/Them, which in my mind is one of the most creative titles in the world, because on one hand, it's playing on the LGBTQ plus gender pronoun selection that some may choose to go by with They/Them, but it's also a horror movie, likely a slasher. So They/Them is another way of thinking about that. I think that's absolutely incredible. This is campers at a gay conversion camp are subjected to the camp director's increasingly unsettling methods while being hunted by a mysterious killer. We have Kevin Bacon, Theo Germain, Anna Klumsky, which I didn't know she was in this until today, and I'm very excited. Carrie Preston, who, if you ever watched The Good Wife when that was on, she had one of the best roles on The Good Wife. So quite a good cast there. Chris, let's start with you. What did you think of this teaser trailer for the film that's coming to Peacock, which never inspires confidence?
For me, I've never really been huge into the horror genre. Even slasher as a subgenre, I've never loved. I just find the movies so nonsensical. It's hard for me to get invested in them. I hate the Halloween franchise right now, and people like to they're like, oh, they give me flack for it, but I can't stand it right now. The best part about this is probably, I think, that Kevin Bacon's in it, because I like Kevin Bacon. But if you guys know, Friday the 13th is one of his original roles, so I'm wondering if they're gonna pay homage to that, and he'll get possibly brutally murdered in this one.
There are some crazy images in this, and it really doesn't give you a through line of anything happening except for they arrive a lot of stuff happens, and then like it's coming out August 5th. That's essentially what this teaser is. But they do show you some things in there with, someone holding a hatchet, someone holding a knife, this like masked hooded figure, the crazy stuff there. Sean, you notoriously scream in movie theaters at horror movies. Are you happy that you can scream in the comfort of your own new home?
Yes, I enjoy way more watching horror movies at home because I can kind of like bury my head into the couch cushions and just like scream and scream and scream. Meanwhile, like I'll see like The Night House in theaters and I'll just like literally vibrate like for like a full 2 minutes, and so like in front of like some like teenager that's like, dude, what's wrong? And so I'm excited to see this on like Peacock where it's like going to be daylight out and I'll be okay and like I can like cry in the bathroom for a little bit. I've talked about my worries with this movie before, and I just worry that it's going to cheapen the actual like horror of conversion camps and stuff. I hope it doesn't, and I hope it's more of an empowering thing, and I think that's what it's going to go for. I think they know better than to like take this lightly. That being said, this trailer is awesome. Like it's just like it's one that doesn't give much out. There's a slash throughout the middle of it, which is just like, okay, you're rocking that title. They're definitely going for the double meaning there with they slash them, and just the images are there. Kevin Bacon is given great closeted pastor hates himself abusive energy in there, which is just like they're just super happy. Like I'm like blown away by this. I just recently watched The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which is the furthest thing from this, which is a movie that like also did haunt me for a very long time. Because I was like, it like really is just a haunting movie in general. But for from a different tone. So I'm still like so curious about this. I'll definitely be watching. I'm definitely excited.
One of the things that made me more curious about this is realizing that John Logan is the one that wrote this. And John Logan is the Academy Award nominee 3 times, I think, for Best Original Screenplay for Gladiator, for The Aviator, and maybe adapted for Hugo. Hugo's the other one. Yeah. And so he also did, Sweeney Todd, he did.
Oh, wow.
Skyfall and Spectre, depending on where Spectre isn't the best one, but Skyfall was good.
That was good, yeah. But wow, that's wow. I didn't know that was the writer. That's great.
So if the title is, hinting towards this kind of subversive theming of the movie, I'm really excited to see what they do with the topic and how they address things without maybe just blatantly saying it. But we'll see. It looks really interesting, and that comes out Peacock August 5th. Peacock does not have a good track record with releases straight to Peacock, so that worries me. But here's hoping that this is the one that changes the currents for them. All right, we have to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi. It ended today. Today was the finale. Chris, I knew you watched it. What time did you watch it? 3 a.m.?
I kind of stopped myself from doing that because it was not healthy. It was so unhealthy to do it at like 3 a.m. I watched it at like 7 a.m. though, so I think I was more awake for it. It wasn't as strenuous on the mind. But I have seen it. I'm assuming you both have as well.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. I think we all watched it around the same time.
Around 7 a.m. when I woke up.
Yeah. Sean, let's start with you here because we've talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi on this pod before, and I think it was after the first 2 episodes, maybe the third. What are your thoughts on how this all wrapped up? Did it stick the landing?
I'm torn by this one because this one had some like really good episodes and some kind of clunkers, and it's really tough for me to imagine it. I think the 5th episode was without a doubt the best, and I think that the 6th was still pretty good and a good solid finish. I've done the thing that I hate when everyone else does this, but I've questioned this series' necessity. I don't know why it's here now. I was excited for it when it was announced. I was excited when they cast Ewan, obviously, and I was excited for the trailers. But now that I've seen it, I'm like, this would have been better and they didn't really do this, although they kind of did, as in Adventures of Obi-Wan, where every episode he's getting into like another shenanigan instead of like an entire arc that overlays it. I love those characters. I sort of love where the story went, but when you do that arc, there's a sense of agency, or like not even agency, a sense of suspense that is usually required in those, which is not really required in this. And that's what prequels are. But I just still like in this one, they tried to make it more suspenseful than it was. And I still love a lot of it. I consider it a lot like cotton candy. When when there was the lightsaber duel at this one, obviously we won't say more, but that was just something where I started screeching like a little girl. I was so excited. So if you are a fan of this, you will love it for that stuff. It is fan service. It is not just fan service. There is a decent storyline there, but I do think it meandered. And I'll say this. I need to say this and get it off because everyone is driving me nuts about this. I don't care about retconning. So the thing about oh, well, in A New Hope, Leia said this and it contradicts. I'm done with that. There's space travel and stuff. No human life forms aboard. They escaped through the escape pod. Like, that shouldn't have happened. Who cares? Like, I'm like, okay, there's going to be like these flaws and loopholes in logic. When they happen independently within the show, that's where it starts to get to me a little bit. And that's where, when they're doing, they're hiding Leia under a coat by the most recognizable Obi-Wan in the entire world and trying to buy a ticket to an R-rated movie. There's certain, little things that I'm just like, okay, I have trouble with these leaps of logic, these sort of fallacies there. And did that ruin it? It didn't ruin the experience. I still enjoyed watching this, but those are sticking with me harder than the good stuff. So I'm very mid on this right now.
All right, there's no way that we're going to be able to talk about this without spoilers. So, Chris, before we jump to you, Chris, what are your thoughts on this? Because, listen, there's a lot. I agree with a lot that Sean said, but I also have done a 180 on this show since I first watched the first 2 episodes. And today I was thinking similar to what you said, Sean. Well, why does this exist? And it was interesting because I think one of the main reasons it existed was showing the anger from from Anakin after his transformation to Darth Vader, and how he was still wanting to get back and get revenge at Obi-Wan. But at the end of this, we had Palpatine being like, whoa, you're not as powerful because you're blinded by your obsession with him. And that's the switch that we get that leads into what's coming down the road. Also, fucking Palpatine was back, but that drives me insane.
I told you that was gonna run into him.
So mad.
He's in charge.
I'm so mad.
I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts, and I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. I want to preface Obi-Wan Kenobi is him and Han Solo are my 2 favorite Star Wars characters of all time, and I hold Obi-Wan to a really high standard. However, the show. To me, this is the way I've kind of summed it up. It has absolutely amazing moments, some moments that genuinely, I teared up in the finale personally. I had tears swelling. It hit in all the feels. We got to see the duel that had been promised, this rematch of the century that Kathleen Kennedy pitched. But at the same time, I can't help but wonder, just like you said, Sean, the necessity of this show. It feels to me here's how the show went down. Obi-Wan, he's out in the desert, just like he is at the beginning of A New Hope. And then at the end of the show, there's a little bit of this adventure and somewhat of a plot and story, and then he ends up back on Tatooine just where he left off. It's I would have much rather explored the dynamic between Vader and Obi-Wan and just dived further into that, because it almost felt too little too late to me. They really went hard on it in that finale, and I was this is what I've been waiting for, this dynamic. So why not just cut the middleman out, in my opinion, and just have this be Vader on a freaking mission to kill Obi-Wan, and that just be the overall arc of the show, in my opinion. Because this is nothing against the actress. I think the performance is solid by Moses Ingram, but her character Reva, to me, I just felt she was there to kind of move the plot forward, and it was just a little unfortunate to me, because I thought, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, I thought this was going to be amazing, and they pitched it as a 6-hour movie, when in reality, if you cut the fat and the credits, you could have easily made a 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 45-minute movie that does $1 billion at the box office, because you have Darth Vader and Obi-Wan on your poster and in your trailers. And so I really love certain moments, especially in the finale, but overall it's not one of my favorite Star Wars projects, and it kind of falls victim to the Disney Plus formula of pacing issues galore, especially when you have 6 episodes, and the 4th episode, I think we can all agree, might be the weakest. To me, it is. It's just cut that out, and I don't know, it's frustrating. That's a word I would use to describe, because I love certain elements, but I was just really frustrated by a lot of decisions made.
This probably doesn't bode well for me saying whether or not I like it, but I can't remember what episode 4 was.
That's where he holds together the underwater thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a prison. It's they're breaking layout, essentially.
See, you know what's funny? I didn't hate that episode. The only one that I didn't really care for was, the first 2 I struggled with. The first one I was worried about where it was going to go. Mm-hmm. The second one I fell asleep during twice. and had to rewatch it. And then that's when I was nervous originally. And then 3 really just kind of set it right for me. That first, battle between Obi-Wan and Vader. I think I disagree with both of you on this. I enjoy it a lot. I think it has some great moments. I think that they introduced us to what I've been wanting. I want to see other characters that were, whether they were involved in the overall story that we know and have gotten beaten into us since the dawn of Star Wars, future movie title, Dawn of Star Wars. Whether or not they're related to that or not, I want to see them branch out into other characters and other stories. That's why I'm excited for Taika Waititi's upcoming movie whenever that hits, because apparently it's a completely new thing going on, which I love. We need that to expand Star Wars. With Reva, I didn't like her in the first couple. I love the actress, and I made that distinction early on when all the stuff first started happening. There's absolutely no reason she should get hate because she did exactly what she was hired to do.
Yep.
I thought she played a good role. I thought they may have undercut her a little bit in that last episode with, I guess the Obi-Wan interaction was the saving grace there, where he was kind of telling her, no, you honored them by doing what you did and saving Ben. But she wasn't as strong as I wanted her to be in the final 2 episodes, especially when the Grand Inquisitor comes back and we basically find out that if you want to get revenge on someone, you can survive being stabbed with a lightsaber. So apparently they both wanted to get revenge and both survived because of that. There's really no rules in Star Wars when it comes to dying. That's essentially what we're at.
And I've had to come to terms with that because, it bugged me so hard. I know it's Star Wars, it's this fantasy world, so I can't get too mad. But not once, not twice, thrice, people were stabbed with a lightsaber through internal organs. The heat of a lightsaber would have probably melted their internal organs, and they just were like, "Nah, I'm gonna pull up to Tatooine." I was like, "I'm just gonna have to turn my brain off for this."
Listen, revenge is something we should all aspire to in order to survive.
Oh, man.
That's the message from the Star Wars original series.
Well, everyone said the Grand Inquisitor had 2 stomachs, and that was how he made it through and stuff like that. As they that would have been.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah,
that's something that
species has 2 stomachs apparently. Yeah.
Oh, I hate it here. That's so stupid.
And it's like as if the stomach is the only internal vital organ. It went through the freaking heart, dude.
Yeah.
But I can eat twice. Buddy.
When he was first killed, Chris, I was losing it because I was like, he's my favorite character. And then he gets killed. I'm like, of course, that makes sense.
And the thing about it that bugged me so hard at first, I know a lot of hardcore Star Wars people were like, well, he's in Rebels and Rebels is after this, so they broke canon. And I was like, I was kind of like that for a bit, but then I was like, he has to probably be alive, and then he ended up being alive. So
well, and before Sean, or I guess when Sean told me that, I was like, oh, okay, he's definitely coming back. So I was just waiting for that. Yep. The other thing that if they didn't do in this, I was going to lose my mind about because they had talked about it, or at least had alluded to it, was Qui-Gon Jinn coming back at the end.
Gosh, yeah.
I was like, it kept getting to the end. I'm like, they're going to end it here. They're going to end it here. They didn't do it yet. But when he popped up, I actually, Sean, I know you disagree with this. I thought it was done very well and was really you didn't need me. We didn't need to do this crazy cameo in episode 2 to get you going. And then you see me every other episode or something. I just liked how they threw it in at the end. Sean, you disagree with that.
I don't think it was done poorly, but the whole time he was just like, I don't think Liam knew how to be Qui-Gon again, because he was just like, well, it took you long enough. And he's just and he's doing a little jaunty thing into the Cave of Wonders. And I'm like,
well, let's go.
I'm like, does Liam know what movie he's in? I mean, I know he's in 6 next year, but still.
Qui-Gon Binks.
Yeah, the Qui-Gon thing was, to me, I think, and I'm kind of trying to rewrite it here. I think that moment when Obi-Wan gets all the rocks on him, I was like, this is the Qui-Gon moment. You've been building up to it all season. Why not have a Spider-Man Homecoming moment where he kind of regains his strength? Throw Qui-Gon in there. At the end, it was almost like, well, the fans wanted it. It almost felt like they added that scene in a year later, and we're like, let's throw him in the last 45 seconds, which I still like seeing him there. I mean, it's Qui-Gon, but
it would have been great if he said so they both got stabbed by lightsabers and survived.
That would have been pretty
awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I totally agree with that. I think Qui-Gon would have been better when he was under the rubble and stuff. When he fell into that, I'm like, here we go. He's dying like the Emperor did, or apparently did. Like I just kept like trying to find all these comparisons to other things that we've seen in Star Wars, which is why it's ruined for me, because the whole time I'm just like, oh, they're calling back to this, and I make stuff up in my head and it doesn't make any sense. Are you guys going to buy Lola, the toy version of Lola?
I don't think I will.
No, that's a tracker. I just said like, wait, that could be used as a tracker, but look at what I have on like my like over here is every iPhone in the world. So it's like, oh yeah, no, I guess I'll get a Lola too to track me.
Between Lola and what's its name, Socks from Lightyear.
Ooh, I'd have to go Socks if we're like comparing the two.
Hey, there's like a $400 one that's out there that apparently responds and stuff.
That's
they
exactly
jumped on
what
this.
they did with Baby Yoda, though. They like, you know what? We're not going to sell anything for a little while, and now here's the stuff Baby Yoda's for like $10,000. Enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. All right, Obi-Wan is over. Do we think it's going to get a second season? There's talk of, Hayden Christensen and I always say Jude Law, by the way, Ewan McGregor wanting to do a second season or saying that they'd be up for it. I think Ewan McGregor had said Solo that he would be up for it as well. And then, of course, they leave it open to not Solo the movie. It's by himself. He said that, not just with the end of the interview with Hayden. But we also, don't have an idea of where Reva ends up. And I think that's one of the big holes there that we could potentially explore a little bit more in some other way. And then also what happens, this ends 4 years prior to a new Hope, is it?
Yes.
So Chris, what are your thoughts? Do you think we'll see one, and do you want to see one?
I don't want to see one because I didn't adore this. I think that I was actually content just knowing where it left off in Revenge of the Sith, and I was like, okay, I'm fine where it picks up in A New Hope. Like the final duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, I was fine with that being the final duel before their rematch in A New Hope. But I think that it all depends. Like, I mean, money's the name of the game for Disney. We've kind of with the series they have announced that's literally all they care about, right? And that's every business. It makes sense. But I think that they will not do a spinoff. I really don't, because I don't think Deborah Chow. I think Deborah Chow said like the director. She was like, it's supposed to just be one story. Like it's supposed to have a clear ending. Yeah. And I don't know what they could do because it wouldn't involve Vader because of the way they wrapped it up with like that story. So I don't know what they could do. It would just be milking it, stretching out a piece of gum till it like is about to break. Pretty much, that's what it would be.
That's the name of the game in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's true. And like, get the hell away from this timeline. Do you guys agree?
Yeah,
the hell out of Tatooine and go out to like. That's why I'm excited for the Taika movie. I know you mentioned it earlier, Joe. Get the hell away from this timeline. It'd be the equivalent of if the MCU was focused on the 6 Avengers for some reason. Still, like, move on.
That's been a success of Mandalorian. Like, I mean, granted, yes, there's cameos on Mandalorian. Like Luke shows up at the end of the second, but that has been the success of Mandalorian. Is people loved like this fresh take, this different thing where you throw in a couple of cameos once in a while, but for the most part, it's a lot of fun to see.
Absolutely, and it's 2 new characters, Grogu and Mando, that we all love, and it's like every other project has to have someone else from the past, and it's like, just move on.
That's why I don't know, like, if I would want to see. I don't think Reva's going to get her own series, but if they were to do something with like the Inquisitors or something to try to explore a little bit more of the time between then, like now Obi-Wan's episode 6 and A New Hope, I think I would enjoy that because it would be a different type of character to explore. That's what I've been saying with Star Wars all along, is I just worry about the longevity of how much they're going to be able to continue to milk the same old stuff, not learn proper lessons from it. Like when they said Solo didn't work because they cast younger versions and now they're waiting for Childish Gambino so they can do another, series. They're talking out both sides of their mouths there. That stuff drives me crazy. I just feel like they don't know what they're doing unless they give the keys to the kingdom to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. And Deborah Chow, bring her in because she's phenomenal.
Much to the Star Wars detriment is that, especially like in a situation like Rise of Skywalker, they listen to their fans probably a little bit too much. Yeah. And so this is going to depend on fan reaction, which, I think based on what I'm hearing from most fans, fan reaction is pretty much just okay and maybe not great. I don't know. It could be a mix because I know there's a lot of fans that love to just see the duels of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, which I did too. But they will listen to the fans, which I think is sometimes not a great thing.
I agree.
I think a lot of people were waiting to see how it stuck the landing and whether it did or not. And I think most people are agreeing that it did a good job of ending the series. So I feel like it's going to be favored more than it's not here. But it had some ups and downs. Do I think they're going to do another one? I think they'll figure out a way to try to milk it a little bit more somehow, even if it's a special or something. You said it, Chris. This could have been a movie. So just do like a movie or something. I don't know. Figure something out. But your point is really well taken, and I agree with that. And it kind of changes the way I think about this. With Vader, we're kind of done with him until we see him again in Star Wars proper. So I don't know. Bring back Darth Maul.
Yes.
That's all I want. I want live action Darth Maul. That's all I want. All right, let's move on from Obi-Wan and start talking about what we've been watching. We're going to do some quick hits on this. I'll mention that I saw The Black Phone last night. This is the Ethan Hawke star where a kid gets kidnapped and he starts getting some help from those who had been victims before him when he answers a black phone that's in the room. It has some really good moments. It has some pacing issues as well. There's some plot holes that I didn't really enjoy that really distracted me. And Chris, kind of like what you were saying with like logic in Star Wars, I get into that with Black Phone. I'm like, okay, this is supernatural and whatever, but I still want to understand like why. Like, give me a reason for what's going on here. So I know that I'm once again on the outside looking in when it comes to whether or not this is a good movie or not. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'll tell you that the third act is a blast. So I definitely recommend Black Phone when it comes out. But in terms of did it scare me? Because, you know, one of our friends was asking me last night, does it live up to what people are saying that, you know, they were throwing up afterwards and it's the scariest movie? And I was like, no. It got me like twice. I had 2 jump scares where I was like, one, I literally was like, ooh, got me good. But other than that, it really didn't scare me. It was just more suspenseful and thrilling. So Ethan Hawke, though, really creepy, really good, not absolutely as involved as you would expect in this. I mean, he's there and his character's there, but I was expecting more. But the main kid, his name's Mason Thames, I believe it is, was phenomenal. And this was his first film, and I'm excited to see what he does more. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is the other one that I want to mention. I saw this months ago at Philadelphia Spring Fest, and I couldn't post my review until it was coming out. But this is one of my favorite movies of the year. It is something that I just absolutely adore for how cute it is and how much it's just like a warm hug. It's funny, it's insightful, it's smart. And it just makes you feel really good by the end of it. And it's a nice piece of escapism. I say that all the time, but you know, this is one where I left just feeling really happy. And you know, it's funny taking a character that we know from YouTube and stuff and making a movie of them. But I think they absolutely did it well. They fleshed out the story really well. They hit the beats really well. And it's a mockumentary type film that just really brings the laughs and some tears. So I would die for Marcel the Shell, just so you know. But that hits limited theaters this week, so definitely check that out if you get the chance. Cha-Cha straight to your theater, Sean. Cha-Cha Real Smooth, you finally saw it.
Take it back now, y'all. So this one, Cha-Cha Real Smooth. I finally saw it. I did actually pretty well this weekend for a moving weekend. I still managed to watch everything that I probably wanted to, even though I'm just sitting on the couch still watching everything. But yeah, Cha-Cha Real Smooth was the one that was most important for me to see, and I'm glad that it was because it was exceptional. It's really intelligently written and handled with care. The characters are like truly like, you know, handled with like the deepest of fragility, which like is you rarely see that. You rarely see a focus on humanity like that. And just be so genuine in the performances and the direction and the writing. Cooper Raiff is 25 years old, which makes me feel like shit. And like, it's just one of those things where this guy has so much talent. I think that, you know, I see him go in great places. Before this was Shithouse, which I thought was a good movie. I didn't like absolutely love it like everyone else, but this one is like absolutely amazing. Just wonderful, wonderful movie. It's one of those ones where I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I can't see anyone not liking this. And if someone doesn't, that's fine, of course, opinions and stuff, but it's difficult to imagine someone not liking it. A little bit like, and people are making these comparisons already and people need to chill about it, but a little bit like Coda. And so everyone's like, oh, hit it Sundance, Apple TV, you know, indie star director. This is definitely going to win Best Picture without a doubt. I'm like, no, chill. It could be around there, I think, but maybe like, but we gotta like, you know, it might be the same or a little bit different. But I love this film so much. And then I saw Spiderhead.
The end.
Yeah, this movie was tough, man. It was just one of these things where it tried to be like subversive in this, like, it's like, imagine this dystopian future where we test drugs on humans. Oh, we do that. We already do that. So like, I'm trying to like, am I supposed to be freaked out by this? Am I supposed to like be like, oh man, it was just odd, and so like everyone was miscast in it. I ended up reading the short story by George Saunders, and I really should have done that because that made me hate the movie even more, because like it's just an unfilmable short story, and they did a carbon copy of it until the end, which the short story is way more awesome and probably wouldn't work for a movie anyway. But the like really dry ending they use in this just absolutely sucks. It's predictable and everything. I gave it a D. I don't even know why. Like I can't remember the positive thing I saw in this, because this is just like I think it was made somewhat well. Like this is the same director as Top Gun, and so like there you could tell like, oh, he's still got a talent there, but he is working with nothing else, and so it is kind of a nightmare. Oof.
What a tale of two movies for him.
Oh boy, I went on a trip.
He definitely went on a trip, and also the director did by Top Gun being what it is, and Spiderhead being what Top Gun is not.
So Miles Teller's not even the saving grace, huh?
Oh god! So Miles Teller always does these like muted performances, and sometimes that works, and in this one it just really doesn't. And Chris Hemsworth is the other one where this is very unfair for me to say, but if you're going to be a like pharmaceutical tech giant that's like a billionaire, you don't look like Chris Hemsworth. And so and I know that's unfair for me to say. I know that's unfair. That's not the right thing for me to say. But I still like, no, you don't. You look like, Bill Gates or something like that.
They don't look like us three right now, so they totally could look like him.
It's like it's somewhere in the middle. No, we still look pretty good. I mean, I have the face of a podcaster.
Chris, you've been revisiting some recent classics, I'd say. What are your thoughts on Crazy Stupid Love and the Silver Linings Playbook?
Yeah, so I've been on like a feel good, that's how I classify it, like a movie that I can kind of, turn my brain off from the issues of the world and just kind of relax at night, laugh, have my heart warmed. So I rewatched Crazy Stupid Love with my girlfriend, and that movie, I'm not like trying to say this in a funny way. It genuinely has one of the best like reveals or twists in any movie I've ever seen. Like the first time I watched it in 2020, I actually had COVID, and so I was quarantined and like I was doing a binge of a bunch of movies, and I called my girlfriend and paused the movie. I was like, "This is wild!" I was so stoked about it. Ryan Gosling, so hilarious and charming in that movie. I can't wait for The Gray Man. And Steve Carell, I mean, we all love him as Michael Scott from The Office, but he can do no wrong in my eyes. And I love the way this movie makes me feel. And then I've been rewatching Silver Linings Playbook. I actually have an hour left. I watched half of it the other night, and I forgot how incredible that movie is too. Like genuinely, the performances across the board. That might be one of Bradley Cooper's best, I would say. Maybe his best. And Jennifer Lawrence, I'm pretty sure, won the Oscar for that movie, and rightfully so. Like the performances are just outstanding, and it's another one of those like, I forgot how funny this movie was, like subtly funny, and it's great. And I'm excited for the new David O. Russell movie later this year. I think it's called Amsterdam, I want to say. So, yeah.
I'm totally with you there. I think Silver Linings Playbook is such a gem of a movie that that doesn't get enough credit these days. It's we kind of move on from David O. Russell films once they come out after award season, I should say. But I think that's really a solid movie, and probably one of even Jennifer Lawrence's like last best roles.
Yeah,
because she took a break for a little bit, didn't she?
Yeah, she was in like X-Men and Hunger Games, and she did like the David O. Russell stuff. That was all like she was done with that, and like this decade, I don't even know what she's done.
What was that one she did? Red something? Or
yeah.
I think Red Sparrow.
Red Sparrow, that's what it is. Yeah, I skipped that one.
I think most did.
I watched that on a plane, and it has a very compromising scene that I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Why would you put this on a plane? That's my memory of that movie. I don't know if I liked it or not. But you know what movie I did like, diving into the news of this week? Top Gun Maverick, which is one of my favorite movies, potentially of all time, which I know is really crazy to say, but it's just a incredible movie. Joseph Kosinski's film has crossed the $900 million mark at the global box office. This is absolutely wild. It is quickly approaching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, who's at 950. It's not even close yet to Spider-Man No Way Home, which is at 1.9 billion. But I think it might actually be in it for the long haul. I think this was said a while ago, a couple weeks ago, at least on this podcast when it came out, that Top Gun Maverick has that summer blockbuster feel that's probably just going to hang in the box office for a while, or hang at the theater for a while, because it is such a good movie and a feel-good movie in some ways too, as we're talking about that, Chris. So my question here is, we've had a lot of big blockbusters come out in the past year, really, since we started getting back to from COVID at the box office or at the theaters. Chris, why do you think Top Gun Maverick is doing so well?
I think I might have cracked the code with this movie. And the reason is, my grandpa is about to turn 80 in October. He hasn't been to the movies since the 90s, I would say. And I saw him the other day, and he was like, yeah, I went and saw Top Gun Maverick. And I was like, hell yeah. And then my dad, who doesn't go to the movies, saw it twice in theaters. It is appealing to people who feel like the market is just superhero, big franchise, Star Wars. This is a movie that, I mean, everyone kind of saw Top Gun in the 80s, I feel like, or 90s are growing up. So like, it's a movie that can resonate with everyone because it hits on all the different emotions. It is actually like a movie that needs to be seen on the big screen. So people are going out, and word of mouth, everyone is saying, oh, you got to see Top Gun. My girlfriend texted me earlier today. Her uncle came in town, and he's like, yeah, I saw Top Gun 4 times. I'm going to go for round 5 later. It's like, people just love this movie so much that they're going to take their friends. They're going for round 2, and it has that long effect. It's easily going to hit the $1 billion club. Easily.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's one of those that I think everyone is hearing the word of mouth, especially, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess I have to see this on the big screen, which is always a good pull for movies like this. Sean, what are your thoughts on this one?
It's amazing that this question was asked today, because I had lunch with a friend who was in town, and he is the most left person I could ever think of. And his dad is the most right person I could ever think of. And the two of them were meeting up to see Top Gun, and they don't get along at all. The level of apolitical that this movie is, when like you could argue, you could almost like, some people could say, who haven't seen it, could say that it's military propaganda. It's not, but like some people could say that right away. You now know that like this is something that like could be enjoyed, from age spectrums, like Chris was saying, and from political spectrums. And I love the movies with messages. I love the movies with radical messages. I love the movies that have like the teeth of those. But those aren't going to make the $900 million. It's the ones that like you are, turning your brain off for. And that's not saying that like this is not like a truly like influential story and like something that like really like is fulfilling, because it is that as well. But it's not one that's really going to like make the intricacies of your brain have to turn on. Just like the truly like hard-boiled entertainment right down there. Also, the bar is called the Hard Deck. Right away, that deserves an Oscar on its own. And I don't know what that Oscar is. It's best name of bars. But like that like when I saw that, when he gets thrown out and the bar says the Hard Deck, I was like, and so right away, like there's something there where I think that's going to be easily another $100 million.
I'm with you.
It'll probably have like
I don't know what to
a 4th
say
of July
that.
resurgence, I bet, too. You
Oh,
think,
yeah,
a 4th of July resurgence.
Definitely.
And I think it's funny. I don't know if you've seen this stuff on social, but there's some tongue-in-cheek stuff going on with IMAX and Fandango and some of the other ticketing stuff where they're talking about getting it back in IMAX. And I think it's going to go right back in, which is good.
It's a lot like the 3D films. Like, you could argue, wow, Avatar is a huge box office hit. Well, 3D films cost a lot more. Yeah. So do IMAX tickets. Yeah. And so that's definitely going to be a part of it, without a doubt.
I want to see it on Regal has Screen X that has like not surround totally, but there's screens on the side and then a screen in front of you. Mm-hmm. And so certain scenes are all around. I bet that's wild when it's the flying scenes. Oh, yeah. I might go do that. On the flip side of things, we have Lightyear that just came out this past weekend and opened to 51 million. That's not a terrible gross, but for Pixar, it's not what's expected. And it also didn't crack the top spot, which went to Jurassic World Dominion once again. And Jurassic World Dominion is not a critical favorite, but it is A- cinema score. So I guess that word of mouth is really helping there. But this 51 million ranks Lightyear in some of the lowest ranks of Pixar. Think about Cars 3, which debuted with 53 million. Luke's in the comments, so Luke's going to be like, yeah, Cars is the best. But I think he even agrees that Cars 3 is a problem. The Good Dinosaur, which was 39 million.
It's
and
not
then
a real movie.
The article we're referencing tonight is from Variety, and they reference Onward at 39 million. I just put a caveat in there that Onward came out in the middle of February 2020. 2020,
Yep.
right before we went into like a lockdown 2 weeks later. So its debut weekend wasn't great, but we also were starting to get the fear of like, hey, if something's going on, we don't know what's happening. So I guess there's a lot of conjecture about why this went south with Lightyear, or why Pixar went south with Lightyear. I'll start off here because my main thought with this is I just really think that Disney's kind of beating Pixar down. We had 3 Oscar-nominated movies come out. Well, 2 Oscar-nominated movies come out. Turning Red, remains to be seen, right? That's next year. I can't even remember when that came out. How bad is that?
That's exactly the problem.
I want to say,
Yeah.
And with the changing dates and stuff, whatever. Anyway, so but at least with Luca and Soul especially, and then with Turning Red, which all of them were pretty critically well received. Lightyear is not as well received, and word of mouth hasn't been as great. But it kind of just seems like Disney has, relegated and made Pixar more of a streaming success than it has a box office success. So trying to dive back in, I kind of thought Lightyear would be, a sure thing because of its ties to Toy Story and stuff. But the biggest thing that I think it had issues with, or the biggest issue I had with it and people had with it, was they didn't understand what this movie was. And, it wasn't until we were sitting there at the beginning of the screening and the first 2 title cards pop up that say like, Andy got a toy from his favorite movie. This is that movie. And we were like, say, there it is. Got it. Makes sense. So then that led to a lot of like, oh, well, they recast Tim Allen. So then we get into a political side of things. And then, of course, like, word comes out that there's a same-sex relationship in there. So all of a sudden, some people are losing their minds about it and boycotting it. So it just seems like it was a confluence of a lot of negativity and a lot of unsure ideas about what this really was that may have led to, it not doing too hot. But also, it's okay to say it's not that great of a movie, in my opinion. So that also has something to do with it. But Chris, I don't even know if you enjoyed Lightyear, what your thoughts were on it. But what do you think about this whole thing with Pixar's Lightyear not performing so hot?
Yeah, so I honestly think all of the reasons you listed are valid reasons as to why it didn't do as well. But I think the main reason truly is that the last 3 Pixar movies, I think, went directly to Disney Plus. And so a lot of people, including like my brother, I was talking to him this weekend, he was like, is it not on Disney Plus? I was like, no, he doesn't go to the movies that much. And I'm like, a lot of people thought it was just going to be on Disney Plus simultaneously. And so I think that's why it hurt. And other people are kind of just seeing like I have some other friends, they're like, I'll just wait till it's on Disney Plus because it'll probably be there in like August or September. So it's not, the urgency isn't there to go see it. They kind of poorly marketed the movie. I like it more than most people. I kind of dug it, honestly, but I can see the complaints. I think Socks might blind my critical thinking of the movie for sure. But I don't want to spoil anything, but I just don't really like the third act reveals that much, like at all. Actually, I don't even know if I'm like, it kind of made me feel stupid. I was like, I don't know if this actually makes sense. I was like asking people, I was like, did this make sense or am I stupid? Like, okay, I'm glad I'm not alone.
Yeah. Well, and then the reveal happened, and then the movie was over like 10 minutes later. I was like, oh, okay, well, guess we don't have much confidence in this. That's actually a really good point, Chris, because my older niece, who now has a child, had reached out to me, and she was like, where's Lightyear? I can't find it on Disney Plus. And that's a really good example of, I think, what people are dealing with. Sean, you went to see it last week.
I actually I had the same problem with my sister. She's like, when so Lightyear's going to be on Disney Plus, right? And I was like, no, it's going to be in theaters. And she actually said this sentence to me. She said, why are things being released in theaters? And I was like, well, I guess fair. I don't know. But I look at this, and I think the problem is not that like Disney is trying to kill Pixar. I think they do they see Pixar as this valuable commodity in a creative space. I do think they see it in some ways, but I think they've lost a lot of faith in those valuable commodities. I mean, I'm looking down at them, and Soul, that one, that was during pandemic. That was already like that couldn't have been in theaters. That wouldn't have worked, and that was released on Disney Plus. But Luca and Turning Red were when theaters were back and thriving, and they kept those on Disney Plus. I think they were really worried about this kind of like $7 million opening or whatever, and I think they just thought like, I don't think these are going to sell, and for one reason or the other, and they thought that Lightyear would be the one that would sell in theaters because it's the toy. The main problem with that is we are the primary age of Toy Story fans. And yes, I know younger kids also watch the Toy Story movies, and therefore they would also probably be into this in some ways. Like there was this one annoying kid that was sitting next to me that just like, the moment the movie started, he was like, "Where's Buzz?" And I'm like, "Dude, he just started. He's gonna be there. The name's in the title." And then I had to be asked to leave. But it's one of those situations where I think like most parents were just like, I don't know. I don't even know what this is. I don't know where it is. I'm used to these being on Disney Plus, and I think that's the problem, which is a shame because, I think it's like more of an experience for the kids to be in the theater. Like as annoying as that kid was, that kid had a movie theater experience. And like, I think that that's something that's very big, but similar to the Fantastic Beasts movies, the last one didn't do so hot. And I think it's because, once again, the primary age is us for Harry Potter. And we're wising up to like, sometimes them being not even if they are of lower quality or not, but like, sometimes maybe like we could see like, oh, this trailer doesn't look that great for this movie. I'm not really that interested in these anymore. And so, people our age won't go to the theater to see them, or people our age have kids and they don't even bother going to the theater to see them there. And so I think I don't know, it gets a little bit dicey, but that's my main issue with it, I think.
I think what's really surprising with all that, though, is that Pixar really made a name for itself with its original stories and its originality. So the one out of the four that they choose to go straight to theaters with is what they think will be a sure thing because it's based on, it's a spinoff. It's a spinoff movie, right? Not banking on the originality of the previous three, which two of them at least so far have been award winners. Turning Red will be in the mix again because Pixar produces quality. So it's just weird. I still would love to know, what the thinking was behind even Turning Red, because that one's, I think that we all expected that, I think, to go to theaters because it was a Pixar film. We were out of COVID, although we're not out of COVID, but out of the craziness and life was getting back to normal. So a little bit more so than Luca. I'm just surprised. It's really fascinating to see them continue to him haul with this. I mean, you look at the next animated movie that's coming out under the Disney banner, and it's that Strange World one.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just, I mean, who knows? Could end up being fantastic. But, if it had Pixar in front of it, I immediately would be intrigued and drawn to it. So
it is the only Disney animated film released this year, unless I missed something, which I probably did. Like, I remember last year when I did my, Academy Award Disney predictions, I missed Encanto, which is hysterical. So I probably missed the one that's going to win this year.
That's pretty funny, actually. The updated list is, they're counting Chip and Dale that just came out. Bob's Burgers they're counting, but that's under the 20th Century banner. Lightyear, Pixar, Strange World is the next one in November. Is there an animated Night at the Museum coming out?
Maybe they just consider it animated because like the dinosaurs or something.
When is that Pixar movie coming out that like it's dealing with like the elements? Like I saw like
I
saw like
Just
concept art
announced,
of it.
yeah.
That's probably like next year, maybe.
Probably, maybe even a year after, but like one of those two.
That's next year. Elemental, was it called?
Okay.
Elementals or Elemental, yeah.
Basically, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I was gonna say it's literally the plot of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well, listen, I'm excited for it.
I mean, like right on, let's do it. But still,
June 16th of next year.
Okay.
Oh, that's not bad.
But yeah, in terms of Walt Disney Animation, who knows? There's not really much listed there.
That's so strange.
Give me Brother Bear 3 or 4, whatever we're at.
Isn't there 2?
There's a 2.
There's a 2?
Oh yeah, it's straight to this. Remember the 90s / early 2000s Disney movies?
They always Pride. Yeah, like,
they always sent them straight to DVD.
1.5, baby. I'm a 1.5.
Return of Jafar. Yeah, they got this thing.
Yeah, Return of Jafar and the King of Thieves. They're good movies.
Oh, great movies. Great movies.
But I mean, we should also mention that real quick while we're on that topic. That Guy Ritchie is not moving forward with Aladdin 2 at this point, apparently, because he is helming the live action Hercules. So that's kind of interesting. I'm pumped for that, though. Hercules has such a following. People love the music from it. It's one of those like I don't want to say it's like a cult classic Disney movie, but it definitely has a solid following. But who do you think should play Hercules?
They were kicking around. A bunch of people a few years ago were like Taron Egerton, and I'm like, I think that ship has sailed. I think that I don't know if I can picture him as Hercules anymore.
I don't see
like,
him. He's a little too old now.
Old. Like, no disrespect to him, he's just a little too old. They need to get like someone fairly young and someone honestly that we don't even really know that well.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to get people are like Tom Holland. I'm like, He's Spider-Man. He's now Nathan Drake. He doesn't need to be Hercules. So I don't know who, but someone young and like kind of like what they did with the sequels for Star Wars, like unheard of sort of actors that can play the role well. Maybe someone from Broadway who's also good at acting and like better than the typical theater acting, you know.
They have to really balance this, like the awkwardness and the hero if they're gonna like be loyal to the story, like, you know, because he was a twerpy dude and then like, you know, became the muscular guy. And so like, I'm not advocating for the Tom Holland cause, but like, you know, someone that has the Tom Holland but can also like balance something that's a little bit more like stocky, even though Tom Holland's pretty built. But
a lot of people are saying Henry Cavill, of course, because I think that if there's a new movie, if there's a new movie introduced or announced, Henry Cavill's the first person they try to throw in there. This other list I'm looking at has Skylar Astin, who is in the Pitch Perfect movies and Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Charles Melton, who is in Riverdale. Chris Pratt.
Oh my God.
Done with this shit.
Moving on from that. Luke Brady, who is in a lot of musicals apparently, but he was in Murder on the Orient Express. He was in the musical of The Prince of Egypt. Alfred Enoch, that's really interesting. He was in How to Get Away with Murder. He was in Harry Potter. I can't remember his name in Harry Potter, which is going to be terrible. And then the other one is Colton Haynes that people are saying from Arrow and San Andreas. He was in something. Teen Wolf back in the day. So we
talked about him last week, but Alan Richardson from Reacher.
He's too big.
Yeah. He's Hercules. He's Hercules.
Hercules.
How about Pain and Panic? Because I've heard some great ones thrown around for Pain and Panic. I know people were saying John Mulaney and Nick Kroll or like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, but my friend said, let's bring back Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. And I was like, yeah.
That wouldn't be bad.
John Mulaney and Nick Kroll is the one that sounds amazing, but probably won't work.
Yeah.
But like it sounds perfect. Like, I love the idea.
They're saying Sean Hayes is Hermes.
That's good.
I think it's got to be Bill Hader. I'm on the Bill Hader train. I'm on the Bill Hader. Big Barry fan.
Nick Kroll and John Mulaney is Pain and Panic. Robert Downey Jr. as Hades. Interesting. Danny DeVito as Philocities.
Well, that is him.
Yeah, right.
That's going to be like the James Earl Jones Mufasa thing. That's going to drive me nuts.
Yeah. I think they will bring him back. I think they'll bring DeVito back for Phil.
Sean, the first sentence in this CBR article about Danny DeVito, if James Earl Jones was able to come back as Mufasa for the
exactly. This is okay. Well,
Did you write that?
I might as well have.
Did you write that? All right, let's jump into the next story here. Leah Seydoux joins Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2. Damn it, I screwed it up.
How did you not get you? We talked about this.
I said it so much today, just trying to keep my day going well at work. But anyway, Leah Seydoux has joined the cast of Dune Part 2. This is an absolutely stacked cast. Of course, Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, and Josh Brolin. But we also have Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken, and Austin Butler. Austin Butler might be the one I'm most excited for now because his star is on that rise. But Leah Seydoux is going to play the role of Lady Margot. Lady Margot is a character that if you're familiar with the original movie, you're not going to be too familiar with her because she wasn't really a big part. She is a longstanding servant of the Sisterhood, but in the books, apparently, I think she plays a big role. So it sounds as though the second one is going to be more true to the book and not just trying to like redo the movie, which I'm actually really for. But Sean, you just recently saw her in Crimes of the Future. What are your thoughts on this casting?
See, this is exactly what I was going to bring up because I have so much faith in her after like being in that weird ass movie because she plays her part so genuinely. Because Crimes of the Future is like sort of sci-fi, but it's more just like friggin' weird. And so like whatever, like she like sort of naturally dove into both her weird character and that weird setting that I'm like really excited to see what she does in this because not that Dune is like as weird as Crimes of the Future, but Dune is a weird, we're not used to it sort of setting, and so I'm like really excited to see what she does with this. I mean, she's someone who like also the star is on the rise here. I mean, she was a Bond girl, and like that's where like she's known, but now people know her name. It's becoming news that she's in this, and so like that wouldn't have been the case. Boy, probably at the end of Spectre, that wouldn't have been the case, even though she was in that. So I love the idea of this. I'm looking forward to her in there.
breaking news that David Cronenberg is actually taking over the sequel of Dune Part 2. So.
No.
JK. Chris, have you, other than, I'm assuming you've seen her in the, I almost said Star Wars movies because I'm still in that mindset. And I almost said Austin Powers after that. So things are going really swell here.
Jeez. Well, you're getting there. We're getting there.
You've seen her in the 007 movies. Have you seen her in anything else? And what are your thoughts on the casting?
Yeah, I've seen her in the French Dispatch. I've seen her in, I think she's in like the 4th Mission Impossible at the very beginning, I feel like. Or she's like one of the characters in it. But I've seen her in a few things. She pops up. I'm excited for the cast because I don't love Dune like everyone like seems to. And like I think Dune's cool, but I just didn't like get on the hype wave for it. I'm excited for the new one. I mean, Florence Pugh, that's the one that really got me on board because I love her. But I hope I like this one more, but yeah, I'm excited. The cast is loaded, and I'm sure that it's gonna like. They're probably gonna have to do a part 3, right? I mean, I don't know if they can. We'll see. I guess.
I think the plan was part 2, but I also know nothing about the book, so I don't know how it's gonna go.
I don't know.
There's also talk of like spin-offs and stuff, and doing a series or something like that too. That's been thrown out there, and I don't know if that was from anyone that actually has a skin in the game, but who knows? Especially with HBO Max, they could want to really capitalize on this because there's a lot of story to tell, and there's a ton of Dune books. So, it doesn't have to end here. I think it's solid casting. This is once again just a solid cast all around. So I'm very excited for this movie. What I'm really frustrated with, though, is our next story here. I don't know if I'm frustrated. Maybe that's a little too dramatic. Kevin Feige just promised MCU fans that we're going to be understanding a little bit more about what this next saga is. We had the Infinity Saga for 3 phases. Now we're getting this next saga. Apparently, we'll know by the end of Phase 4. So, like, we've invested ourselves in this. We all are seeing all these different splintering webs going out there of where this could go with the different shows and the different movies. But it will become clear. And he said they've been dropping hints that have been clear to him. The man's in the damn room, but they've been clear to him, but they're not clear to us at this point. I'm kind of excited. I assume they're building up to Secret Wars, which is a big comic arc, and that's what's been rumored for a while. But Chris, where are you with this? Like, hey, we're going to let you know soon.
So my biggest gripe with the MCU right now is the fact that it just feels like we're introducing with no like direction. I always loved how every MCU movie, and even Phase 1, 2, and 3, like it would kind of leave like little Easter eggs as to where we're going. Like even the post-credit scene for like Iron Man 2 set up the war. It doesn't have to be directly, within. And so far, like Eternals, Shang-Chi, I like Shang-Chi. Eternals I'm not crazy about, but there's all these different movies and shows that are just out there, like doing a lot and like almost rewriting the world of the MCU in a way. Like, and so it can get really confusing. And I'm honestly, it's so big right now. I'm just kind of lost. I don't know how. I mean, yes, they're going to do another Avengers movie, but I'm wondering how they can even get everyone that's been introduced in it. And I'm sure it'll be Secret Wars, but it's not clear where they're going. And I think that he should understand that. I've talked to multiple people, like there is no clear sense of where we're headed right now. You guys agree?
Yes.
I completely agree with that. And I'm just trying to write down some of the like crazy threads that we have. And they're pretty big threads, in my opinion. You have the after credit scene of Shang-Chi. You have what's going on at the end of Eternals when we see what's happening with the sword and the Black Knight, which we haven't seen really play out yet. We have the voice of Blade in that. And then we have in the shows Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I completely forgot about until someone brought her back up to me because I was so pumped when she joined. I like literally screamed when they revealed that it was her because I love her. But then we have Clea at the end of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We know we're getting Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. There's just so much going on here. We know we're getting Fantastic Four down the road.
X-Men.
We're getting X-Men at some point. It's coming. But like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know what's happening. There is nothing clear to me. I don't get any hints of like a through line. Sean, do you?
I mean, I know for the listeners, you can't see my face. I have no idea what's that. But I will say this: I'm enjoying the ride. Yeah. Like this roller coaster is definitely heading to like an opening, like when we did Roller Coaster Tycoon and we let the people crash. But like, there's no way this ends properly. Like, it's not like as simple as it was before, where it's like, let's introduce 5 superheroes and then we put a movie with them together. Then we introduce some more, we put a movie with them together, and we keep on doing that and we have fun. Now, all of them are just like fucking dead. And so now we just have like a couple of them. And I'm enjoying some of the movies. I'm not really liking some of the other ones. I mean, right now it's like, I don't know what Miss Marvel is going to be, but these last 3 episodes have been an absolute delight. Like, this is just truly wonderful. And I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe it'll just stop and be nothing. It probably won't. There's going to be some obsession to connect every single little thing, but they got to be sweating because you're right. There's just so many different things. Remember Kang the Conqueror? Remember when that was a thing? Remember when he hijacked an entire episode of Loki? But oh no, we don't remember that anymore because we've introduced like 8 other freaking giant villains. I mean, but then it's like, I'm excited for Kang the Conqueror to be in stuff because I enjoyed him in Loki. I'm excited for like the Blade movie because Mahershala Ali is awesome and Blade is awesome, so bring it on. That's gonna be awesome. But how is Blade gonna like be next to like Ms. Marvel? Like, where is that gonna be coming? Like that. Or
That's gonna go. That's gonna
And
go
you
back
still
to,
have the Guardians out there. You've got Thor. You have so much.
Get out of my
It just
head.
doesn't
Get out
even
of my
make
head.
sense anymore. They keep introducing so much that I feel like they're ahead of themselves. Honestly, they need to slow their roll. Moon Knight, where the hell? What the hell's going on with that? I honestly, I'm not a fan of that show. For the record, I know that might be a hot take, but like its existence, it baffles me.
It's mid for because there were no connections. It wasn't like they even did they just completely forwent any connection to the ultimate MCU, which is what kind of drove me a little crazy. And I always run into this problem, which I think is always going to plague the MCU for me, is where's everyone else when this shit's happening in the individual series? Like, we had like Power Rangers villains in the form of Egyptian gods fighting in Egypt, and like nobody was like, oh, we need to stop over there and see what's going on. It's the whole Captain Marvel thing when she was like, yo, I was on other planets, you're not the only ones that have issues going on. Yeah, we are. We have Thanos, he's trying to wipe out half of humanity. Like, I
love that. What was it? Damage Control is like, raiding every single mosque for like someone that's like putting out light discs, and meanwhile there were giants in Egypt and they're like, nothing to see here, we're good.
It's just, that's the part that will always, and I guess I get told often by a family member that I'm becoming worse and worse when it comes to watching movies because I'm always looking for logic. But I feel like there has to be logic at the bottom of these because, like,
shouldn't you be?
Well, like you enjoyed movies when you were younger. I'm like, I feel like even a lot of the movies, like when I was younger, had some form of logic to them. Of course, not all of them, but like, some of the stuff I'm writing, and this is going to get into my rant, some of the stuff I'm watching, and this is going to get into my rant a little bit later. I just feel like the writing is not as strong as it once was, and I don't know what that is about. If it's just the quantity that's being thrown out there over the quality, and these writers are just being pushed like too hard. But I think there's just too many T's to cross and I's to dot that they're just, the scripts for even series aren't as strong as they once were. Which is frustrating me. Of course, that's not every one of them, but that's kind of where I'm at with this. And I worry with the MCU because I feel like they're kind of throwing a lot of shit at the wall to see what sticks, but they have to go back and, tie up loose ends at some point. How that happens, who knows? I think Clea, while it was underwhelming for me when she was revealed, I think that's probably the biggest hint that we have of where they're going with Secret Wars, because incursions was a big thing in Secret Wars. But
I don't know any of these words. What you're saying. I'm a fan of Marvel movies, but I'm getting headaches.
Incursions is when different universes are colliding.
The thing that interests me is, like, if you knew somebody right now who was like, you know what, I think I want to catch up on the MCU, the Marvel movies, and you give them a list of everything, it's like, see you in 2 years. Like, with the amount of time that it would take to watch all the series, and the series are becoming less and less relevant to me. Like, I've kind of realized, like, I feel like you could skip some of them and still kind of understand what's going on. But at the same time, there's WandaVision with Multiverse of Madness. You'd be very confused. So
yeah, I think those are the two good examples. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier we probably could do with. You could do without if you don't want to watch it before. We're getting Captain America 4. Remember when that was announced?
Yeah, we are. We're getting
Remember
Captain
that?
America 4. Yeah.
But I think Miss Marvel and Moon Knight are more about the individuals. And like introducing the characters. But then again, Miss Marvel is going to lead up right to the Marvels, the second Captain Marvel. So I don't know what the hell's going on. And I'm just getting tired of waiting.
I look at the timeline for Marvel, and I'm just like, these fuckers are way too optimistic about climate change. It's like Fantastic Four in 2028. I'm like, we're gonna be underwater. Why are you doing this to us?
The other thing, not to like belabor this point and beat it to death. Yeah, we're getting a Thunderbolts movie too.
Yeah.
And not to beat this to death, but he said it would come clear in the next 2 months, and a lot of people are theorizing that means there's going to be big announcements at the D23 Expo. Oh. Are they going to announce more things? Like, that's what I don't understand. It's going to be clear. All right, so unless they announce a Secret Wars Avengers movie, that's what we're working towards, then I'll be a little bit more understanding. Like, at least we know where we're going. But if it's going to be like, oh, by the way, X-Men's coming. Oh, by the way, like, Clay is getting her own movie.
I think the biggest thing he's going to do there, announce like probably Avengers 5 or whatever. But I think the biggest thing from there is he will bring the cast of Fantastic Four out personally, because that movie's getting closer. And I think that'll be like his mic drop. He'll be like, here we have the Fantastic Four. And they walk out. And if it's not John Krasinski,
it's not John Krasinski.
Screw him. It's not going to be, is it?
It's not going to be at all.
I'm disgusted by
they
that.
They answered that very firmly.
Who answered that very
upsets
firmly?
me.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. They said, here's your little Mr. Fantastic. We're going to make pasta out of him. And then, just...
Listen,
I will be so upset if it's not him, honestly, because I loved him from the few minutes we got. And that was like, we were clamoring for it. They'll probably, if it's not him, I think there will be some backlash, but whoever they get, I'm sure will be fine.
Yeah.
But I go back to with the John Krasinski thing. He still hasn't made a comment about it either way. And that is what I think still leads me to believe that there's something coming down the road, because he didn't come out and say like, yeah, it was a fun one-time thing to do or not. And Marvel's just letting it hang out there. So I still think it's going to be him. I think they're going to have a lot of cleanup to do if it's not. And Marvel doesn't like doing that. Marvel just likes to, ride those the successes, except for Eternals. They didn't know what they were doing with that one when they got some backlash. I love Eternals, side note, but really excited if they do an Eternals TV show, because I think that would be better. Speaking of TV shows, Thor Love and Thunder is as short as a TV show, apparently. No, people are upset because Thor Love and Thunder is clocking in at about an hour and 58 minutes. Chris, the reason I put this on here is because I feel like I saw you do a TikTok about it.
I actually didn't, but I almost did. But I wanted to say, like, I love that it's an hour and 59 minutes, because, like, I do not want to go to the movies for 2.5 hours anymore. I'm disgusted by it. I like 2 hours is perfect. An hour 50, more like an hour 48, and then the credits will probably start rolling, I assume. I'm fine with that, and I think that all these people are like, "Oh, we need a 3-hour movie." It's like, so we can complain about the pacing. Like, I mean, it's gonna go by. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a blast, hopefully. And I'm fine with it. 2 hours is a long ass movie still. That's a long time. Doing anything for 2 hours is a long time.
It's a very long movie, and let's not forget that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was only about 8 minutes longer. So, like, people are starting to freak out about things just to freak out about things. Yeah. Sean, you're going to be able to probably hold it and not have to pee during the movie.
Oh, no, definitely not. I've had to pee during 90-minute movies. The reaction to this is just absolutely absurd. But I'm someone that, like, I've seen amazing movies that are 3 hours long. I've seen amazing movies that are 70 minutes long. It's not about the runtime. It is about how you tell the story. It is about how you engage the audience, and it's about the pacing of it. And a 3-hour movie can be paced well. Yeah, sure, it'll be long as hell still, but like, you still don't see the sun for 3 hours. But it's like, it can still be paced well and done properly. This character doesn't need establishment. Have you heard of Thor? I have, you have, we have. Like, we've heard of Thor already. We already know who this guy is. We don't need to go through a backstory or a history or establish him. I know that this is like I'm a firm believer in sequels being separate from, originals in a certain way where it's like it's its own separate story. But still, we know this guy. So, like, we already have our feelings for him. We already know he could be a little bit of a goofball. And so I get that reference. But that's the part that, like, I really like, is that's the part that drives me nuts. I'm someone that when I see a runtime, I'm like, oh crap, 3 hours, I'll have a 3-hour movie. But if you keep me entertained for 3 hours, I'm good. Like, it's a good movie. Or if I see 70 minutes, I'm like, boy, how do they get characters together in like 70 minutes? If you keep me interested in it, if you establish something properly, I always go back to it. Shiva Baby. This has nothing to do with Thor whatsoever, but Shiva Baby is a damn fine 70-minute movie. It's just absolutely wonderful, and you get all of the fantastic character development you need in there. So no matter what, it's going to be something good.
Thor Ragnarok was 2 hours and 10 minutes. So we're really just playing with 10 minutes here, essentially.
It is
10
the
or 11
literal
minutes.
under 2 hour thing, I think. It's the fact that it's 1:5 So that's really what it is.
That's ridiculous. Doctor Strange should have been 30 minutes shorter based on what they delivered, in my opinion.
Doctor Strange should have been 0 minutes.
That's bold.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that movie too much.
It's
Honestly,
not
so.
great.
I thought it was such a letdown, Chris. I was
Yeah.
they kept not to get into it again, but they kept billing it as madness and craziness, and I'm like, this isn't really that mad. Oh man, the last thing though is going to shock everyone that a Marvel movie that is being handled by Sony is causing some controversy because Kraven the Hunter, which will star Aaron Taylor Johnson, is apparently not going to follow the comic books in one way at least. Kraven the Hunter, the movie, who is Kraven is Spider-Man's number one big villain. He's I'm trying to highlight some of this stuff.
There's nothing this is such a weird this is already a weird thing that these are happening. So
it's so ridiculous.
Power through. You got this.
He's a hunter with human conviction and a human with conviction, but he's also an animal lover and protector of the natural world. And I guess that's where people are having problems because they're like, wait, what? Kraven the Hunter is Kraven the Hunter. And that he is the greatest hunter in the world. But if he's an animal lover and a protector of the natural world, what exactly does that mean? But people are just losing their minds here because they're talking about how, we obviously had Morbius come out and Morbius wasn't wonderful. We're getting a Madam Web movie and people aren't really thrilled about that. We had we had 2 Venom movies without Spider-Man in them, technically. So Chris, I know you said this was your number one most anticipated movie, I think.
Kraven?
Oh yeah. You made a TikTok on that, right?
For sure, yeah. Oh man.
What do you make of this?
This
Sorry.
Oh wow. I mean, I saw a picture of Aaron Taylor Johnson running with a shark tooth necklace on with chest hair coming out and him running around. And I'm just I don't know if I care about this movie to begin with. Morbius was such a stinker. So it doesn't baffle me that they're going to change the direction. I don't know. Did Sony do something to Kevin Feige? Do they have some ransom or something over his head where they I don't understand what's going on here. Why I don't even know why they still have rights to any of it. It should be stripped. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Wait, but the best part of this picture is not even right here. It's this.
Oh, there it is.
That's fantastic.
It is the footies that he has on.
That makes him the villain, is wearing the toad shoes. Yeah.
What is their goal at Sony right now? Are they building a Sinister Six team? It made it seem like that after Morbius.
It seems like that's what it is, especially with the horrifically put together Morbius post credit scene. So I think that's what they're going for. And right now they have 3. And this will be 4. And this is where I'm just so out of my depth. As you can see, I can get headaches from comic book movies. Not because I hate the comic book movies, I love a lot of them, but I just don't know where things go, and I don't know how to even talk about what this will be. I could just say do we follow comic books or do we not when we're basing them off of them? I mean, I'm a firm believer in we're making this a film, so we have to give this character something. And when you put the villain in the center of it, you have to make him good, kind of. And so maybe his whole thing is okay, maybe the villain killed animals, but this one likes animals while he kills them.
But isn't that a fundamental change in a character, right?
Yes.
I've seen
that's why they shouldn't do these.
I've seen people comparing it to the changes that were made in Miss Marvel, but I don't see them as the same because the Miss Marvel changes for the powers were made to make it a little bit more acceptable with how she gets her powers, but also to fold into more of the background of the character that they were telling. And I guess to avoid some of the Inhuman stuff as well from Sean, you're going to glaze over here in a second. But the Inhuman show that was on that I think they're trying to distance themselves from a little bit that was on Hulu, I think it was. But this is just weird to me. I mean, it's people love Kraven the Hunter. He is again, Spider-Man's main big enemy. And now we're finally getting him, but they're but he loves the bunnies,
It's bizarre.
He's gonna be like Lennian of Mice and Men. Just like kills everything else except for the bunnies.
Oh my god. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Can I ask a question though? Morbius, why? I understand the movie's not great. The after credit scene. Why are people saying it's like so shitty and stuff? It doesn't. It's not like anything out of this world, but it's also not like terrible.
I think the reason it offended me is because the rules established of that spell in like Spider-Man No Way Home was like people who knew Peter Parker's identity, like they all ended up coming to that universe. There was never anything about people getting pulled from it and like sent over. So it just doesn't make sense that Vulture was sent to that universe. And that's why it's like, so we're just going to ignore that. And then it also took Michael Keaton's Vulture, who I thought he's one of my favorite MCU villains, and it just threw him into the shitty Sony, whatever it's called, the spunk. It used to be called like the Spider-Man universe of men. I don't know what it is, but it exists, and it's unfortunate.
I think for me, it was just you knew that it was an insanely rushed job. It was edited so hastily, and it was like it went so fast. Where I was like watching it in the theater, and I'm like, I gotta be honest, I didn't like Morbius, but like even at least that was like put together a little bit nicer than that. It felt like they were just like really stuck it together with glue and paper, like very shortly, like quickly, like, you know, the writing was off, the editing was off. They were not in the same place together at the same time.
No way, yeah.
And I guess that happens a lot, but still, like you felt it here.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I get very confused by all that because of like, he did know who Spider-Man was, right?
Yes. But the thing is, like, why did he get sent out of this universe? You know, it's just weird to me because like people were coming into the MCU universe. Like that's how Tom and all that, like that's how all those villains came in. And then he got sent out of it for some reason. It's just weird. It's never really explained.
Yeah. Didn't Venom also technically like get sent in?
Yeah. Which again, there's a lot of plot holes like that too. So and it's weird.
Well, Sony doing us dirty again.
Yeah.
All right, we'd like to end each episode with rants and raves here. I'm going to actually change my rant into a rave because someone just sent me something that I had said earlier on Twitter, and I want to say it publicly. I don't know what this Barbie movie with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling is going to be, but I'm about to tell you, and I'm 100% confident that I'm going to be obsessed with it. So I'm very excited for where this is about to go. The pictures that are coming out from it look ridiculous. And I keep reminding myself that Noah Baumbach wrote the script for it. And I just can't wait.
Have you seen, I saw it just before we went on. There's an on-set photo of Margot Robbie with Greta Gerwig. And Greta Gerwig is also dressed in all pink. Like she's a character on it.
I saw that.
Oh, I couldn't stop crying laughing. I was just like, this is just so absurd. And it's going to, like, it has to be good, right? With Gerwig and Baumbach attached.
I don't know. I don't understand what it is. That's why I'm so excited about
it. It's such a mystery. She thinks she's on the Barbie set.
She kind of looks like Pam from The Office here.
She does look a little bit like Pam, yeah.
I'm excited for it. I don't know what they're doing, but with everyone involved, I feel like there's going to be some intelligent like play that they're doing with the story of Barbie and, you know, how the toys are revered and stuff like that. But I don't know. I can't wait.
God, it's wonderful.
Sean, you have a rave.
I have a rave that I meant to do last week, but I got distracted by Barry and The Amazing Season 3. But it's a sad rave, but it's a rave. We lost Philip Baker Hall last week. He's a characters actor. He's just like, you know, the guy, like, if you do not know the name, Google him and then you'll see his face and you'll be like, oh, I've seen him in like 25 movies. Like you've seen him in the background. You've seen him like, you know, up front sometimes. He did some of his best work in Paul Thomas Anderson films, early Paul Thomas Anderson. I recommend that everybody sees Hard 8. I know that nobody has. So,
good. I like Hard 8.
It's such a great movie. It's such an underrated PTA movie. I think it's literally his first one. And Philip Baker Hall plays the lead role in that, and he's just like, without saying much, he just really encompasses like all of the brokenness of his character, and it's like then he could go and play someone in Seinfeld as Vincent Bookman, the library detective, and he's just kind of like, he just plays it completely straight, and somehow it's hysterical. So we lost a great one with him. So R.I.P. Philip Baker Hall. He's just absolutely spectacular actor.
Totes agree. Chris, a rave.
A rave. So I have been just absolutely floored and just I can't get my mind off Stranger Things. I've loved the show since 2016. I love every season. I think season 2 is the weakest, but I still love it. Season 4 has been fantastic to me, and just I haven't in my life, I'd say since Game of Thrones experience, like hype going into a show. Like I think that it is the biggest show on TV right now. Like, and I think that season 5 is going to be like Game of Thrones season 8 level hype, and I just love it so much. I can't stop talking about it. I can't shut up about it. I've probably annoyed. If you follow me on social media, I've probably been irritating about it. But so if you need to unfollow me, I get it. But
you were traveling. You went to see some of the set, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I live in Georgia where they film a bunch of it, so I've been going all around. That's awesome. I went into like the high school. I went to the lab. I've always loved it, and like the 3-year gap, I'd always had it on my mind, and I would rewatch it every now and then. But then season 4, it just feels right to be back. And then, damn, do they know how to make a trailer, because the volume 2 trailer. It was hype. It was hype. So I'm excited for these next 2 that are basically movies. Yeah, and then we wait another decade for the season 5.
Do you think they'll do a season 5? Because the way they're advertising this, they're like, we are closing the book. Like it seems like they're really ending this thing, but it doesn't. They haven't said finale. So the Duffer
Brothers wrote a letter in like February. They said five's the final one. Okay. So we're splitting this one into 2. So like 5's the end game or whatever for Stranger Things. But I think they're gonna like. You guys have watched it, right?
I haven't finished the last episode.
Oh, okay. I won't say anything, but like I think that like, our characters they're in trouble. I think we're actually going to experience like real loss. So I'm so pumped. I'm more excited for that than any other movie or show this year.
I love the complete and utter bullshit on that trailer of them using running up that hill. When I heard that, I was like, you cheeky guys. like you knew exactly what you're doing. It's like for the memes.
Oh man.
The running up the hills scene though with Max in that one episode where she's running through like away from Vecna and stuff. That is just one of the best scenes.
Yeah.
She's my favorite in this series.
Oh yeah.
So by far, but let's end on this because someone just tweeted this and it made me laugh really hard. And it goes back to our Obi-Wan Kenobi conversation. But you know, Qui-Gon finally did show up. Spoiler alert. And this is what someone tweeted. Qui-Gon be like, finally. That made me laugh quite a lot. This weekend, there's quite a lot coming out. There's a movie called Dula coming out, which is Chris Pine's, I believe, writing debut for a film. Watcher is coming to VOD and digital. Beavis and Butthead Do The Universe is coming to Paramount Plus, which I can't believe that's coming back out. Elvis is hitting theaters. The Black Phone hits theaters. And Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is hitting theaters. Chris, always a pleasure to have you, and we're so happy we could find time for you to come back. But we want to make sure that people know where to find you and where to continue to be entertained by your Stranger Things obsession.
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at FilmStocked, TikTok at FilmStocked. I post multiple videos a day over there, usually right now, all Stranger Things pretty much. Instagram and Twitter are both FilmStocked as well. I also have a letterbox where I log, what I've been watching. So if you want to see what I thought of Crazy Stupid Love or Silver Linings Playbook, you can follow me over there. But yeah, it was a blast coming on here. I always love hanging out. And this is super random, but last time we were on, we talked about Indiana Jones 5. And that's my most anticipated movie for next year. I will die on that hill. Indy 5 injected into my veins.
And it's still anticipated to come in over a year.
Can't wait to have you back next year where we're waiting for Indiana Jones 5.
It'll probably get delayed again.
Yeah. Where was it that they revealed it was Star Wars Weekend, right? Where he's like, oh, they're going to show you a first look. And it's like his silhouette.
Yeah.
Most minimalist poster of all time.
Oh man, well, Chris, you're always welcome back, and it makes me laugh every time because when I sign on my Guide to Movies TikTok, I flip through a few things, and it's always like Chris, Jared, Chris, random person, Jared, Chris. It's and I follow a lot of people, but it's just really funny that you guys are pumping out the content and doing a great job with it. So,
thank you.
Sean, you're gonna do more TikToks?
Oh, God, I'm so bad at it.
You got to do the Peacemaker. Didn't you did the Peacemaker dance, right?
I did the Peacemaker dance. Yes.
Legendary. I remember that.
See, like that's the thing. It's like I need help with Sam. Like she's the one that is my social media coordinator.
Does she get paid?
No.
Well, if we want to get Sam paid, may we recommend you join the Patreon. It's currently $2 a month for the Guy at the Movies podcast Patreon. A lot of fun content on there and more to come. Once again, Chris, thanks for being here. We will see everyone next week for another episode of the Guy at the Movies podcast. Bye.
The Guy at the Movies podcast is a joint venture between Math Teacher Movies and Guy at the Movies. You can catch new episodes weekly right here wherever you're listening to this one. Subscribe so you never miss a beat.